Former First Minister of Scotland, who is in Westminster for us. He was the leader of the Yes campaign during the referendum of 2014. Mr. Salmond, very good to see you this evening. Thanks for being with us. We know the drill then. We know that Theresa May is not going to engage on this. So the question is, what next for you?
Well, let's just consider what's happened today. A proportional parliament, unlike this one down here, has by a substantial and clear majority voted for the people of Scotland to have the right to exercise their self-determination. Now, Theresa May think she can stand against that, but she won't be able to. Her position will crumble, not today, not tomorrow, but over the coming weeks and months, because no British Prime Minister for the last generation has attempted to deny the Scottish people the right of self-determination. I mean, in my lifetime, the biggest opponent of Scottish independence was Margaret Thatcher. But even Margaret Thatcher said in her autobiography that Scotland had an undoubted right of self-determination and that people were determined on it, that no English politician, and certainly not her, would stand in their way. Theresa May, in taking the obdurate stand she's doing, is attempting to deny the right of the Scottish people to decide, because obviously self-determination delayed, like justice, is self-determination denied.
But will she really crumble? Because she would say the view of the Scottish people is on her side. She's going into a very complex negotiation on Brexit. She's made it very clear that the Scottish people can't take a view on independence until they know how that process has bedded down. So I put to you again, what can you possibly do to change the position we're in tonight?
Well, she's wrong about the view of the Scottish people. I mean, there's only one poll which is asked straight. If the Scottish Parliament asks for the referendum, should the UK government concede it? And that was YouGov 2 weeks ago, which showed a clear majority, and people of Scotland said
but not
they should.
Up by the 60%, which you said would be a prerequisite for another referendum.
I never said anything of the sort. I mean, Nicola Sturgeon in her manifesto last year, which is what counts, said that if Scotland were dragged out of the European Union against the will of the Scottish people, which has happened, it was on page 23 incidentally, then the Scottish Parliament should have the right to call for another referendum. Clearly stated in a manifesto in a proportional election. Nicola Sturgeon was resoundingly elected on that manifesto, and the Scottish Parliament has voted clearly for it today. Now, to deny that is to deny the right of the Scottish people. In fact, it's denying self-determination. And no politician down here, the days of that happening, down here they've got this thing, they're going to have Brexit Empire 2.0. Let me tell you, the days of the British Empire are over, and the days of British Prime Ministers denying self-determination to the Scottish people, they're over as well.
Well, you've been very critical of the Brexit campaigners like Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage for not coming up with a very clear plan. So let's focus on your plan. What is the destination for Scotland if it was independent?
Well, Nicola Sturgeon wants a referendum in 18 months to 2 years, when every parliament round Europe, as well as this one, will get the chance to accept or reject the Brexit deal. She'll bring forward a prospectus in that timescale to compare against the Brexit deal. That's the right and proper way to do things.
Yeah, but I understand that, but what's the destination? Well, are you going to be a member of the European Union?
The SNP policy is for membership of the European Union. I'm certain Nicola Sturgeon will bring forward a prospectus which allows for continuity within the single marketplace. And nobody in this place is at all confident that the British government will be able to do that as a result of their Brexit negotiations. That's why the right time, the proper time, the only feasible time to decide this issue is in 18 months to 2 years, where this Parliament and every other Parliament around Europe gets the chance to vote on it. Why shouldn't the Scottish people have the right to vote and exercise self-determination on that timescale? And let's remember what's going on here. This is not just about Scotland. Northern Ireland is in deadlock, the Welsh are alienated, Scotland is moving for an independence referendum, and the English are split 50-50. This is not a Prime Minister in Westminster who is in command of the political environment, and on that disunited basis, a complete disunited kingdom, which she has created by her own obduracy, she's moving into the most difficult European negotiations for more than a generation. The Prime Minister's weakness will be evident for all to see.
Mr. Salmond, Michelle here in Washington.
Hello, Michelle.
Just to pick up on this idea, if you go back to the first referendum, one of the key questions many Scots had was, what would the economy look like? What would the currency look like? Here we are talking about a second referendum, talking about the timetable for that to take place. Will people, when they vote on this, have any idea of what the economic landscape might look like?
Well, yes, of course they shall. And as you remember, in the first referendum campaign on the December of 2013, it was presented a prospectus, a white paper of 670 pages. I know that many people in the Brexit referendum last year in the UK would have loved to have that sort of prospectus in order to judge how to vote. And I'm quite certain that Nicola Sturgeon will outline the same type of white paper with the same guidance for people as is right and proper in a referendum campaign.
Alex Salmond, thank you very much indeed.
A great pleasure.